body and blood. Lilies are the flower of death, the flowers that you give a corpse to match the pallor of death. Roses are the flowers of love that you give a sweetheart to match the veneer of passion. Violets are the flowers of sadness, and tulips the flowers that bloom in a kind of seduction that has nothing to do with love. For every mood there is a flower, even nightshade. No common weed this, but a flower of potency. I have always suspected that if you grind enough roses into a concentrate, you will get a love potion. But nightshade doesn't require that much work. It is what it is, the flower of murder, and it is the most honest flower of all. I cut the stems gently with my steel scissors, wearing my white gloves. We should all be so honest. We should be so direct. Instead, we spend most of our days avoiding conflict and most of our nights crying into our pillows about it. We should follow the nightshade. Let any who touch us wrongly die. I arrange the plants in their indigo vase, shape them into a bouquet, sprinkle little wildflowers, pretty things, in as adornments where the color isn't quite right, fill the water to just the right level. After it is steeped enough, it will also be toxic to drink if anyone is stupid enough to try. The smell of the bouquet alone is enough to induce lightheadedness, maybe even seizures in the particularly weak. Beauty of this kind is not for the weak. I do not give my gifts to the weak. That never works out. The bell rings. I lean up from my work, step back, and survey the bouquet quickly. I nod. Yes. Yes. The murderous instrument is an affirmation of life, a statement that splendor is possible under any circumstances. I am moved and choke up for a moment. Yes. Yes. I walk over to the wall and press the button to buzz my guest in. Of course I know who it is. No one ever drops by unexpectedly. No one ever checks in just to see how I'm doing, if I want to grab a bite to eat or talk. The people who love me most are the most afraid of me, and they keep a respectful distance. It's why I hate them most of all. It gives me an air of mystery that I have never deserved. People never understand that monsters can have aesthetic sentiments too. I wonder when that happened. I have occasionally leafed through old records from the Renaissance, wondering if there was a moment when Leonardo or Raphael said something about it. Never mind. That's not important. I go to the kitchen and begin to boil water for tea. I have quite a collection of teas. There's a knock at my apartment door. It's open, I say. Of course it is. Who would come by unexpectedly? She opens the door and steps in, her hard boots making almost no noise against my creaky wooden floor. Sister, I say. She smiles a little bit at the title. She's been defrocked for a long time, but likes it when someone remembers. It's merely a codification, anyway, of a fact on the ground. Some titles cannot be taken away by men. She notes 2 new paintings in the hallway. Perhaps she suspects that the scenes of the suffering of martyrs that they depict are mixed in real blood. You've been hard at work, she says. Yes, I'm annoyed by the remark. What else would I be doing? What do you have for me? She asks. I point to the table, though it should be obvious. The lights are set up around it. It's the centerpiece of my living room. The eye is immediately drawn towards it. Is she being polite or sarcastic to ask? She nods and steps over, her long fur coat rustling. She looks it over. She smells it and swoons with pain. She runs her leather-gloved hand over it, gently. She turns, looks me closely in the eyes, my brown eyes, her green, and speaks without lies or flattery. It is beautiful. Thank you. We are silent for a moment, and then my foot begins to tap with impatience. She nods, considers, and then speaks, ignoring my hunger. It is a peculiar gift you have, she says. I know, I snap. She raises her eyebrows, her perfectly manicured eyebrows. I have never met anyone else with your talents. I'm sure. Get on with it, woman. Given enough time, she says, I think you would redeem all of hell by making art out of fire and skin. Given enough time, I agree. Sister, do you have it? She smiles. My impatience pleases her. I must remember that she too is a poison thing. No one else could make the journey she has. Of course. My voice catches. Give it to me. She raises her eyebrows again. And I kneel to the floor. I hold out my hands. I look up at her face. From inside her coat, she produces a small box of gold. She snaps it open and removes a small cracker, a sacred thing. I stick out my tongue and she places it there, where it melts into my spit and muscle. She takes out a small glass vial, holding red wine. She pours it in my hands, and I drink it all. She places her hand on my head. "You are forgiven," she says. "There is a place in heaven for even such as you." I collapse on the floor, gasping and sobbing with relief as she steps over me to pick up the bouquet. She lets herself out as I weep and cry and rend my clothes. I will not be abandoned. And the second piece is called Editing the Dead. Okay, this is how James died. He and his wife Annie, who never really liked me, but we tried to get along because we knew we couldn't choose between us, were on a trip to Spain. They take trips all the time, and I'm incredibly jealous. James is an intellectual property lawyer, so they have money, and Amy doesn't work, so they don't have to coordinate schedules. They just get up and go when he gets vacation. My girlfriend has a government job, and our vacation schedules never seem to overlap. We go on trips if we could. They'd just seen the Alhambra, which I hear is beautiful, and gone back to their hotel to clean up before going to some fancy Spanish restaurant. James liked to say, "Do you like tapas?" The way I used to say, "Do you like sushi?" Back when there was a good chance somebody would have never tried it. But I stopped. I knew when to stop. So James gets into the shower first. If my girlfriend and I had been on vacation, we would have showered together. And he starts to rinse himself off. And this is according to the official report. He slips and starts to fall. So he grabs onto the bar that holds the shower curtain up, but it's a flimsy European job, not an American manufactured shower curtain bar. And so it comes right off the wall. "Shit, no!" he shouts. And his feet go up in the air and he falls back against the tub and cracks his head open. He was dead by the time the Spanish paramedics arrived, and his last words were, "Shit, no." He really wouldn't have liked that. Shit, no. He was an eloquent guy, a lawyer. He liked to put little legal jokes in his court brief, something that would make the judge laugh without coming across as inappropriate. He liked to walk that line. Shit, no? Are you kidding me? He was the kind of guy who would have worked on his last words for months. They still wouldn't have been half as good as something I whipped up on the train ride home, but he could have done a lot better than shit, no. That wasn't him at all. Except, of course, that it was. That was him. Even if it wasn't before, it is now. We've all heard the story. And now I have to write his eulogy. And everybody will be there, and they're all expecting something big from me. I've known James since the 2nd grade. His family is expecting me to blow the roof off the church. At James's wedding, his dad actually told me that he was disappointed in my impromptu toast because he'd expected more from me. "It was kind of conventional," he said. John and Will are going to be there. The popular kids who Jeff threw me over for in high school, and even after making that up to me in college, he always kind of liked better. He made John his fucking best man, not me. I've been nursing that grudge for years. James was always going to be my best man, always. And then I couldn't do it because it would have been like asking a favor of the kid who took your lunch money. So I assumed that Ming-Tae would have been my best man, except that then Ming-Tae asked John to do it too. So I was out in the cold. If I'd gotten married, I don't know what I would have done. I'd been insulted by all the men I'd known long enough and felt that close to. But now that it's time to write James's eulogy, oh, now they turn to me. Now they all turn to me, expectantly, waiting, hoping, knowing that I'm the only guy who can write shit no out of their minds. Give his dignity a chance to live again. Bring James back just that much.